So, today we're diving into this really fascinating philosophical novel, Neither Dreamer Nor Dream. It's a story that takes a hard look at something we all chase after freedom. But it comes at it with a twist that honestly might just change how you see everything. Okay, so let's start with the huge question that's right at the heart of this book. Have you ever noticed this? The very things we do to try and get free, chasing success, rebelling against the norm, even seeking some kind of spiritual enlightenment, somehow they can end up trapping us all over again. It's a weird paradox, and that's exactly what we're going to unpack. And here is the book's big, radical idea. It's saying that we're not trapped by things on the outside, like society or a job or a family. No. The novel argues the cage is internal. We're the ones who design it, we're the ones who build it, and in a way, we are the bars of our own prison. Let's break down what that actually means. To really get to the bottom of this, we first have to ask, what is this search all about? When we say we want to be free, what are we even looking for? Well, the novel argues that if you want to understand the cage, you've got to look at the one who built it. And that architect, it's what we call the self. So, the definition of the self in this book is just a total game changer. One of the main characters, a teacher named Marcus, explains that our identity, that feeling of me, isn't some solid, real thing. It's just a story the mind tells itself to navigate the world. Think of it like a handy tool, a convenient fiction, but not the absolute truth of who you are. And this leads right to the big aha moment. If the self is just a story, then all those stories we tell ourselves, I'm a go-getter, I'm a spiritual person, I'm an outcast, those aren't just descriptions. They become the actual walls of our prison. They set the boundaries of our entire experience. So, how does this actually play out for people? Well, the novel gives us these incredible characters that basically act as case studies. Each one is desperately trying to escape some kind of prison, but in doing so, they just build a brand new one. Let's take a look. First up, we've got Helena. She escapes a really controlling marriage and decides she's going to be totally independent. Her path? Financial success. She builds a massive business empire, thinking that if she has enough money and power, nothing can ever trap her again. But here's the catch, right? That story she built, I am a successful, independent woman, it walls her off from everyone. She gets everything she wanted, but she ends up in this new cage, a cage of just crushing loneliness. Her hard-won freedom turns out to be totally empty. Okay, next case study, Vera. Now, Vera was one of the first to really get Marcus's teachings and find this amazing sense of liberation. So what does she do? She creates a huge spiritual movement to share that freedom with the world, building this whole organization around it. And what do you think happens? Her escape from her own suffering becomes a prison of bureaucracy. The very movement she built to free people gets her stuck in board meetings, fundraising, and what the book brilliantly calls the endless administration of awakening. Her project is now her prison. Then we meet Lena, who's Helena's daughter. See, she grew up watching her mom chase this idea of liberation, and to her, it just looked like chaos. So she rebels by doing the exact opposite. She chooses the most normal, conventional life she can find, a stable guy, a simple apartment, a predictable job. Her escape into normalcy is her way of finding safety. But that safety net becomes its own cage. The predictability she wanted so badly turns into this deep, soul-crushing numbness, like she's just watching her own life from a distance. Her survival plan becomes a cage of unreality. And our last case study is Theodor. This guy is brilliant. He completely masters all the teachings on an intellectual level. He can explain every single concept, break it all down. He becomes the movement's star lecturer. But his own intellect becomes his trap. He understands the ideas so perfectly that it actually shields him from ever experiencing them. He built a cage made of concepts. The book describes him as the cartographer of a land he had never visited. He has the perfect map of freedom, but he's never actually set foot there. I mean, you can see the pattern so clearly here. For every single one of them, the strategy they use to escape becomes the very thing that builds their next cage. Helena's success leads to loneliness. Vera's mission to help leads to bureaucracy. Lena's search for stability leads to numbness, and Theodor's quest for understanding leads to inexperience. Every escape route is just a blueprint for a new prison. So are we all just doomed? Are these cages permanent? Well, not exactly. The book shows that because these prisons are built from stories, from fictions, they're not as solid as they seem. Eventually, life happens, and cracks start to form in the walls. We see this so powerfully with Jorg, the controlling husband Helena escaped from all those years ago. When he comes back into the story, he's not just the bad guy anymore. He asks this incredible question, realizing that in being her jailer, he was also trapped. The simple black and white story of blame just completely falls apart. And we see these walls start to crumble for the next generation too. This is a line from a voicemail that Lena, the daughter, leaves for her mother, Helena. After years of building this fortress of normalcy, she finally starts to question it. The very thing that made her feel safe is now the thing she realizes is keeping her trapped. This all brings us to the novel's absolutely mind-blowing conclusion. As Marcus, the teacher, is facing his own death, he offers one last piece of wisdom that completely reframes the whole problem. And here's the huge shift. The goal is not to break out of the cage. We've seen that every time you try, you just build a new one. The new path isn't about escaping the fear, or the loneliness, or the numbness. It's about learning to just sit with it. This is it, the final teaching. Marcus admits that even he feels fear as he's dying. But the key, he says, is to feel it without believing it's the whole story. The fear is real, it's like a wave, but you are the awareness watching the wave. Freedom isn't about stopping the waves, it's realizing you're the whole ocean. You just sit with it. And that leaves us with this really powerful question to chew on. If our stories always create some kind of cage, what would happen if we just stopped trying to escape? What would it mean to stop fighting the walls and instead just become fully, truly present with whatever is happening right here, right now? That's the question the book asks us to figure out for ourselves.